Welcome to Mountain Monday Morning, and we are live right here with you, Mountain Fun Life Studios, in the radio room here, radio studio. And, of course, we got the video going, too, don't we, Mountain Man? I'm Robert Ober, your host, along with Mountain Man Wayne McCarter here.
Hi there.
And we got a big holiday coming up on us here, Thanksgiving, and we've already been thankful this morning. We started out being thankful, and I hope everybody else did, too. We have a lot to be thankful for. If you're alive today, you have a lot to be thankful for. Now, what we need you to do is to text, tweet, get on the phone, bang on the wall if there's someone next to you in an apartment or something. Whatever you need to do to get people's attention, let them know that Mountain Monday Morning is coming to you live from Mountain Fun Life. And we appreciate all of you who've been joining in. We want you to keep joining in because you never know, do they?
Nope.
Never know what we're going to pull, what Mountain Man's going to get into, what kind of trouble he's going into.
Let us know where you're watching from.
Where you're watching from. Click and share.
Click and share.
Click and share. And not only that, we always wind up on Roku, on YouTube. They can sign into the YouTube channel too. So be sure and check that out. And we are soaring with the program around the world, into Germany, into France, into goodness, I lose track of it all anymore. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, and other areas of Africa
Right
now that I'm not that
front
familiar
room
with.
on the big TV.
Right there in the front room on the big screen. But anyway, get that text and tweeting done. Let everybody know that Mountain Monday Morning is live, and we'll be right back. Welcome to Mountain Monday Morning. It is Monday morning, and we got to give that signature intro. You know, we need people kind of expect that, and they're used to it. But hey, we got the big Thanksgiving Day coming up, and a lot of people kind of, they play off that and call it Turkey Day and this, that, and the other. We need to be thankful. We don't need to key in. That bird gets too much attention sometimes. But anyway, it's a fun, pleasant time of year, and I guess this program this morning will be about pilgrims, Puritans, and pumpkin pie. One of my favorites, pumpkin pie. I can eat a good pumpkin pie. Doesn't last long at my house.
Nope.
The servings, I don't like them little bitty wedges. No, I like the big. I like that thing just kind of.
And so you don't like to be cheated.
I don't like to be. I don't like to be cheated. Sometimes I feel a little guilty.
Sir.
Of course, my wife doesn't like pumpkin pie, so that's not much of a problem in my house. I have to eat
pumpkin as long as it's pie.
I like sweet potato pie too.
Oh man!
But anyway, we want to go back and discuss a little bit about how all this got started. Now, when we were in school, we were learning about the Pilgrims getting on the Mayflower, the Nina, the Pinta, the Pinto, as I used to call the three little rickety ships, and sailing across the ocean to the coastline of the American colonies, what became the American colonies. That's how we normally think of it. But settlers were here way before that, several years, a few decades. I don't remember exactly how many. I didn't look that far back. But anyway, they were coming over here. You had the Vikings who were sailing over here along the coastlines, and you had the Spanish settlements in the Caribbean islands. Even before there were a lot of settlements up and down the east coast of the United States, or what we call colonial America. But it's interesting to go back and take a look at it, because there's a lot of stereotype, a lot of misunderstanding about the Pilgrims in general. Those folk were primarily made up. There was religious persecution going on in Britain, England, and a lot of the other areas. But the religious folk over in England, under the control of the king and the crown of that time, that we were trying to get away. They were trying to get away from some of the persecution and some of the rules, regulations, and laws laid down by the authority of the crown, who controlled the church at that particular time. And of course, the Anglicans, they had some rules that they were placing on the separatists, the Puritans, who were kind of two. Let me just go into this just a little bit more technical in detail here. You had the Puritans. People think of the Puritans, with the funny-looking hats and the drab clothes. No. These people had some colorful clothes. They took vegetable dyes, and they were not these drab, dreary, toe-the-line so strict people that a lot of people think of. They had some beautiful colored clothing. Now, they did believe, I just made a little note here. Let me go ahead and read this. They believed in having a good time, and but that enjoyment was to be from a spiritual-based gifts that come into the natural must be preceded by correct spiritual living. That's where real enjoyment, real fun in life begins. So these people were not killjoy people as they're usually portrayed. But now they did want people to have a strict adherence to a scriptural-based lifestyle. Before we had our first, when it was a Continental Congress in the early colonial period, they kind of they wanted a scriptural, biblical-based government that relied more heavily on a lifestyle patterned after like Israel used to have, and the Israelis, and not necessarily a strict legalism. A lot of people will say, well, they were legalists. No, not really. They were people who just believed in living by the book, and they wanted their lifestyle to be based on that. So they did have bright clothing, dyed from some type of vegetable dyes made from vegetation.
Made it hard to hide from the American Indians, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it sure did. And of course, they got along to begin with. That's what Thanksgiving was about.
Till we tried to go modernizing them.
And try to change their culture and make them fit in, But they played games, they had music. And they were a fun-loving people. It's just that they wanted their fun not to get over into the realm of the pagan practices and the idolatrous practices conducted by a lot of what a lot of people call heathen
the one day that
nations.
Everybody could get along.
Yeah.
It had to be a great day.
It had to be.
We call it Thanksgiving, but...
And they weren't exactly, another misconception, they weren't exactly teetotalers either.
No, they were struggling to eat back then.
But they did warn
they
against.
all come together. That's
Exactly,
the thing. Everybody
exactly.
came together and put the meal.
And they warned,
It was
although
great.
they weren't teetotalers, they warned against abuse of alcohol. And so you know, the same could be applied to, we shouldn't abuse, we shouldn't be gluttons either. I mean, you know,
No,
we can't just take
a lot of things we do, Brother Robert, that just, you know, it's natural sin.
Yeah, sure is.
I mean,
and we harm
sin.
a lot of times. We harm ourselves by a lot of things that we do that we may not realize that we're moderation. Now, if I had at least 2.5 cups of coffee this morning.
Cold.
You know, to get
Bob
awake.
And I go and have a third.
Bob made that one for you, didn't he?
Yeah, that I'll send you home talking to yourself.
It's
That's
good though,
pretty
isn't
good.
it?
That's pretty good.
You need that. You kind of need that lift, and but anyway, Thanksgiving has always been an enjoyable time to me. But you know, it's not always been on the same day. But I don't want to get into that right now, though. We'll discuss that a little later. I've got I made some notes here. You know, I'm analytical. Tried to be a little analytical this morning, and but you know, the first Thanksgiving that was held by the Pilgrims, they invited the Native Americans, generally called Indians, and they got together and they had this feast. But that feast was not just one specific day. It did, however, coincide with an Israeli feast day of the Hebrews. A lot of people may not be aware of this interesting fact that I'm about to give you right now. More than one, but I'll start out with this one. They had several days, at least a minimum of 3 at this Thanksgiving, because it was a harvest festival that coincided with the Hebrew festival called in Hebrew Sukkot, which is the Feast of Tabernacles. End of the year harvest, and you were thankful. You were thankful for bountiful crops, and you were thankful for the mercy, the grace had been bestowed upon you. So the early American Puritans and many of the Pilgrims, there were different groups. You had the Separatists, who wanted to totally disassociate from the Church of England, the Anglican Church, and totally separate from that. They were called Separatists. But you had the Puritans who wanted to purify the church as well as the Catholic Church from some of the abuses and excesses. And you know, we still see abuses, not only different denominations. It's not just one. There are abuses that can occur in anybody's particular denomination, whatever it may be. And so the Puritans in general wanted just to remain inside the Anglican Church and just say, you all are not being pure to Scripture here. You know, that's the reason we're called Puritans. You're getting some idolatrous practices here that we don't agree with, and you're getting some things. You're getting some things into your lifestyle and worship that we don't agree with. Did you know that here's some more tidbits some of you may not be aware of. Did you know that Christmas was once against the law in colonial America? Because it was a Saturnalia practice that was conducted mostly by the revelrous and idolatrous countries, and the Puritans, they wanted to have fun, but they wanted to be along with the scriptural holidays. And of course now people consider that to be, but at that particular time it was not necessarily a scriptural holiday. So the Puritans in colonial America, yeah, right. In colonial America, Christmas was once against the law, and so was Halloween. A lot of Americans may not be aware of some of these facts, but I thought it was interesting. I thought, well, the Puritans, and you know, it wasn't that they didn't want to have fun. they wanted their holidays to be more in line with the biblical holidays. So I can understand that.
So, it's like Thanksgiving's coming up Thursday.
Yeah.
But everybody is so concerned about Friday that they ain't even thinking about Thursday.
Right.
They're more concerned about, and they want to save that almighty dollar.
Well, people get too caught up in the commercialism, and that's one reason.
Exactly.
A Puritan today would say, "Hey, you've lost all the meaning. You've lost the meaning of what this is supposed to be about, and you're overlooking some things. It's to your own detriment and going against you here. Why don't you rethink this situation?" For instance, politicians see Thanksgiving has not always been on the same. It's on the same day. It's kind of gone back and forth because of politicians being influenced by corporations, and the corporations wanted to make money. And they say, well, Thanksgiving is interfering with our money making here, so they go to Congress, the president at that time, and they say, you need to, they start applying pressure. We helped get you into office here, so you need to we need to make more money here, and this Thanksgiving thing is interfering, and we need you to shove that back a little so we can get people more interested with our commercial propaganda here to where we can make more money off these people. And now when you think about it, think about this. I'm going to get a little serious here. When you think about it, we really do need to think things through a lot of times. Now, you take Black Friday. Look at what a debacle that has turned into. You've seen it. And I don't dare go shopping on. I do not go out shopping on a Black Friday.
I get abused once a month, and that
I'm not saying you folks don't.
Abused then?
I'm not saying you folks. You don't. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to get in, but now think about it.
A lot of them will, and then don't forget Cyber Monday. Now.
Yeah, right. Now let's use a little common sense here. During the late part of summer, those merchants who love to have you come out on Black Friday, they begin to ease up the normal prices, inflate those prices upward from their normal price. And then when the holiday gets here, or the holidays in general, more than one, we look at Christmas too, same thing happens. We got all these 50% sales and 60% off and all that, when they have elevated and inflated the price up to where they knocked that back down to what it was to begin with. Why don't we just do our shopping before then and get it at the regular rate?
Well, we all like to feel like we got something for our money. You
feel like you're winning, but listen,
a little bit.
You got to use your head sometimes. But now think about it.
It's only money.
Being thankful, it's only money. But now think about it. It's only money. But when people, especially grown-ups, and some of the debacles that I've seen, and they called, back in that day, they called the Native Americans, the Indians, savages. When I look at what's happening in our own day at some of these shopping malls, when they're going out to the shopping malls, and so even the grown-ups are acting like, I don't know how really to describe it. Getting in physical fights.
Out because I lost a lot of money in them food courts.
Yeah,
and my money.
And so, so yes, people might think that I'm being puritanical, but I think we need to rethink a lot of things about how we act, what we do, where we go on holidays like this. And doing the things that I see people doing. People, it is not right. It is not right. And I do not want to be caught living and I'm not trying to be super spiritual or super, I'm just trying to be sensible here,
We
folks.
go trying to tell these young people what to do here. I ain't telling mine. Mm-mm. Been there, done that. I don't want the shirt.
But anyway, but yeah, there was a time when Christmas and Halloween were outlawed in the United States because it was not considered it was not considered a really biblically based or spiritual way of lifestyle, although it got turned around and got reconnected and brought back in. And of course, the Santa that we have today of the Christmas time he kind of invented by, once again, you got the corporations coming in, invented by the Coca-Cola Company. and so that was part of their commercial. So you have the chubby jolly guy in the red suit, but when you go back and study the history on him, maybe he didn't fit that character as well as some people think. But anyway, just some tidbits to get you to thinking. And did you know that in colonial America, now I'm going to get a little bit on home ground here. As far as I'm concerned, with myself, Harvard University, it was just Harvard College then, was the first college in colonial America. I didn't know that until I became a student with them. And Harvard University, getting back to the Hebraic thought and ideas of living and having fun based on scriptural feast days, like Thanksgiving was once geared or set to kind of coincide with the biblical Sukkot or Feast of Tabernacles, being thankful for what you had been graciously given. Harvard University college at that time, they had a required course. Not only Harvard, so did Yale. They both popped up. Yale, I think, came later. But those colleges, which are now universities, at that particular time had a required course for every freshman that wanted to study with them. The required course was that they were to learn Hebrew. A lot of you folk may not, the younger generation, and I didn't know this for some time, but Hebrew, the language of Hebrew before the Israeli government and the nation of Israel became a nation again and began to speak and bring back the Hebrew language, which was almost a dead language. The colonies almost made that the official language of the United States of America. That was almost our official language.
We just need to stay at home and mind our business and stop bothering our neighbors. We'd have a more harmonious outcome.
Right, but it was brought before. I think it was actually brought forward before Congress because they were so upset with the British at that time. Not only did they want to separate from the Church of England, from the Anglican Church, the Puritans and Separatists were the ones who eventually became the Congregationalists in the United States.
But Congress upset. Imagine that.
Imagine that. But they were so upset with. And this was before the Revolution, by the way. They were so upset that they not only did they want to separate from the crown of Britain, they wanted to have a language, and it was suggested by I think one of the people involved, a professor with Harvard, or it might have been Yale, one of the two. Anyway, it almost became the national language, Hebrew. And their Constitution, before we had the American Constitution, their Constitution was based on, kind of like Israel, on the biblical laws and biblical living, and which, if kept in perspective and done right, which actually would be better for any nation to go by. So the intent and the origination of Thanksgiving as we know it today, a lot of people may not realize the connection that it had with a Hebrew festival, and that was the Festival of Tabernacles. And they were kind of patterning their government after that, after those
have
festivals.
to say that I stand on the side of living under the grace.
Yeah. Well, any time in any era, we
totally
need
all
that.
the way agree with freedom of speech. Sometimes people hard to keep their mouth shut.
Sometimes they take too many liberties with it. But I found some of these things to be very interesting, and I had someone ask me. I get asked the question, "Oh, why do you study with Harvard when it's the school has become so liberal?" Well, it has, so as a lot have a lot of the other institutions, educational institutions. But my answer is this. My answer is that there's still conservatives there. You take our government. We have conservatives and liberals and had them for a long time in government. So why do we still support the government? Because it's the society that we live in. So because an institution may have people who are extremely liberal, there are still good people who are conservative, just like in our government. So that doesn't mean that I accept the liberal tenets. I have disagreed with some of my own professors, strongly disagreed with things that I didn't go along with, and have written against some of the things that I would not accept and would not be let them influence me and teach me. It is our right. So why do I study? I would, with what some may consider to be, it's too liberal, you shouldn't be there. Well, I enjoy it's historic for one thing. The first college, when it was just the first college ever established in the United States, and I didn't know whether I could ever get to study there or not. When I signed the Student Code of Conduct, I thought it was a dream. I thought, this is not happening. I cannot possibly be doing this. But I would rather liberal, conservative, they're all, some of our top presidents and congressmen came out of Harvard. George Bush.
I don't even like to talk about him. He gives me a headache to even talk about him.
Once again, a lot of our politicians do come out of these institutions.
They want to make an issue out of everything.
They sure do. I agree. But here's the point that I'm going after here. I would rather be sitting on the inside of a room where there are opposing viewpoints and know which side I want to take and know what the other side is trying to push, promote, or do to get someone to believe. I would rather be inside the room and know what's going on rather than be outside just wondering and listening to hearsay.
You shedding a fly on the wall?
Sorry, Harvard, not necessarily that.
That's
but
pretty good,
I do
though,
that's pretty good. Fly on the wall. That's pretty good. I do want to know what's going on. And if if I can learn what liberals are doing, if someone hits me with a liberal proposition or study or something, then I can give my response because at least they're open. Now, if they cease to be open, of course, I say, okay, I can't do this anymore.
If they
I'm out of here.
Want my opinion, I'll give it to them, but I don't think they will, okay?
If they want your opinion, your wife will give it to them. Okay,
exactly.
But anyway.
You got her.
But anyway, it's really interesting. But Thanksgiving was not originally. It was called a harvest holiday. George Washington and the Continental Congress declared Thanksgiving Day 1777 for November 26. Abraham Lincoln changed it to the last Thursday of every November, and Franklin Roosevelt, getting pressured by those merchants, he changed it November 23rd, wanted to move it back so they could have, try to get more people in to get those, have those shopping frenzies. But it was not very popular, so 2 years later he changed it back to the last Thursday. So, with that being said, you have to take the corporations and politicians into consideration on a lot of what we have to go through with.
You know that I was born on Thanksgiving Day, don't you?
You were born on Thanksgiving. You're kidding me.
Thanksgiving Day.
You're talking turkey now.
Well. Truth will stand the world burns, though.
Anyway, we've done talked ourselves out of time. We've done gone out of time. Hey, what are you supposed to say?
Hey,
bye, Mountain Man. Bye. Bye, folks.